all the moms in the world, let's chat it up. We're talking competitions, uniforms, and all of the above. It's the Cheer Mom, yes, the Cheer Mom podcast. Cheer Mom, yes, the Cheer Mom podcast. Cheer Moms, your podcast is on.
Well, here we are. I am coming at you from my Airbnb in Orlando, Florida. I am in the middle of week 3. I don't know. Yeah, week 3 being here. And it's been amazing. It's been exhausting. It's been educational. I have made some new friends, spent some time with old friends and friends that I've met because of the Cheer Mom blog and this podcast. It's been almost everything I wanted and more. I say almost because I really wanted some pool time and I still haven't gotten it. And I have a book that's calling my name to be read and have not been able to crack that girl open just because it's been so busy. I am also ready to go home. I miss my family and I miss my dogs and I miss my friends. So, almost there. I finally had a down day today, finally had an off day to just kind of piddle around, and I decided to do whatever I felt like doing in the moment. Even though I always have a to-do list in my head and always things that I should be doing, even if it's a rest day, I'm like, I should be resting by the pool. I should be moving my body and going for a walk. And I'm like, I don't really care. I'm going to do what I feel like. And for the last hour, what I felt like doing was playing with makeup and practicing some new makeup techniques that I've learned and putting bubble braids in my hair. And it was fun. And I think I look pretty awesome. I am very influenceable. I'm easily influenced. I would like to think of myself as a leader, and I think in some contexts I am. But you tell me about a product enough times in a podcast or in your stories, I am going to buy that product. And a lot of what I own in terms of like beauty and everyday things are a result of influencers, like even cheer influencers, especially cheer influencers, because I'm just on cheer social media all of the time now. Maddie Brum influenced me to buy a self-tanner. Samantha Ryan influenced me to buy these new pink Nike shoes that I'm wearing. And she wasn't even trying. She doesn't even have a Nike discount code. She should, but I got it because Samantha Ryan had it. And my eyebrows are because I have seen more of these world's and college athletes doing their eyebrows this way. And I'm like, how are you guys doing this? How do you do this? And I ask them when I see them, I'm like, how do you do your eyebrows? And they tell me. And then I do my eyebrows like they do. So whether we like to believe it or not, I think we're all influenced in one way or another. And speaking of being influenced and influencers and wanting to be influencers, today's episode is really important. And I'm going to be sharing it with all of the influencers that I know in the cheer space, with all of the moms of girls who are trying to be influencers in the space and trying to establish a name and a brand for themselves on social media and or in cheerleading. This is a really important conversation. And I've touched on it on the podcast a few times, just kind of in passing, not really in depth. I recall the episode with Dan Cotton way back when I first talked to him about what you should be expecting from a brand when you partner with them. And it's a subject that I feel passionate about. And since meeting today's podcast guest about 6 or 7 months ago, I am fired up to learn more and educate more about this topic, especially in the sport of cheerleading. So today's guest, his name is Mathew Lunsford, and officially he works for the Open Championship Series, which is the company that owns the All-Star World Championship, and they put on the Open Championship Prep and Rec Nationals, Grand Nationals, in addition to other events. But they brought Mathew in from the sports marketing world to work with brands it's my understanding, to bring more brands into events and into the cheerleading world. And that does not come out of nowhere. We're used to seeing at our cheer events kind of the regular suspects, right? Like your bow vendor, your t-shirt vendor. In recent years, we've seen activewear vendors and more companies that relate or apply to our sport. Well, that's happening more and more. There are companies that are going, hey, what's going on over here in the cheer world? And Mathew is helping to facilitate those partnerships. Not only that, but as he has learned about cheer and social media and cheer athletes, especially college cheer athletes, has taken a real interest in learning more about how these ambassadorships and partnerships are working, and he has taken it to the next level. And so we talk about the NIL aspect of cheerleading and how that plays into athletes getting paid. The NIL, the name, image, and likeness. You might have heard about that with the NCAA and college athletes being paid for endorsements and things like that. So he talks about how that should be relating to cheer and maybe what we didn't know we should be expecting when partnering with brands as ambassadors. So I find it fascinating. Mathew has become very quickly one of my closest colleagues and allies in the industry. We talk on a regular basis. He has so much insight and expertise when it comes to brand partnerships. And a lot of it has just blown my mind and made me think in a whole different perspective. So I'm going to be sharing this episode with the athletes that I know who are working with brands, who want to work with brands. I hope that you will too. My hope is that in the future and the very near future, more cheerleaders will be compensated for the partnerships that they're doing, and that we won't see any college cheerleaders having to raise money to go to nationals, having to raise money to pay for new uniforms. Since recording this episode, Mathew and the Open Championship Series have come out with an announcement about that and how athletes can be part of a new program that can get them paid. I'm putting on my glasses so I can read it verbatim, and I will link this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll link it directly in the show notes. But listen to this. The Open Championship Series is excited to announce Cheer Fair, an online athlete marketplace in partnership with Open Doors. Cheer Fair will help cheer and dance athletes manage deals from pitch to payment every day. This platform offers solutions to athletes to help them market, build, protect, and monetize their brand value. The partnership will establish a marketplace for athletes, allowing them to work directly with brands and simultaneously protect and add value to their names, images, and likenesses. So I'm going to dive deeper into this and figure out how it works and maybe be able to talk with you guys about it in a future podcast, maybe have an athlete who's using it on the podcast. But really what it is athletes registering in this platform that's going to connect them with brands that will pay them to do things. to do things like photo shoots and ambassadorships and product reviews, shout outs, appearances at events, and more. I'm excited about the structure of this, the official capacity that it's in, and the opportunity for athletes, for cheer athletes, to make money. So if you're interested, check it out. I'll link it in the show notes. I'll probably link it in other places too. This is a really exciting development in our industry, and I am appreciative to Mathew for facilitating it. I'm not paid to say that. I'm not in any way obligated to him or this company to say these things. But I truly believe in the direction that this is going. And I believe in these cheer athletes that we so know and love to be able to build a brand and make money. Matt and I talk a little bit about in the episode about some tips and ways that you can build your brand. If you are interested and have questions or need help, please reach out to me. If you are listening to this or watching this and you are an athlete who has a bit of a following or even wants a bit of a following and don't know what to do next, I can help you with a structure. Matt can help you with a structure, with a direction. This is not like a service that I'm currently selling or anything. I want to help you guys with next steps, with building this and this resource in our industry, which I don't think has really readily been offered, at least not to most athletes. So enough of me. Let's get into the conversation with Mathew. So Matt, you came from a completely different world from cheerleading. So let's start at the beginning. How did you get here?
The top or from the cheerleading top? How far do you want to go?
What led up to this point of you? What led up to you jumping and diving into the world of cheer athlete sports marketing?
Yeah, so I was in the music business first and foremost out of school, and I worked for a European percussion manufacturer. I handled artist relations and did some really interesting things with rock bands and going on tour and different things. And it was a pretty hectic lifestyle, but I learned a lot. And I learned a lot about what not to do and how to do it and where to relate to people and how to drive partnerships and partnerships that meet the sales goals of where they should be and those types of things. And I had an opportunity to watch basically the indoor football league and the arena football league like kind of fail from the inside after that and wanting to get off the road a little bit. From there, I learned a lot more about operations and where those things meet and how they turn and what makes a business profitable versus what makes a business chase pennies versus step over the pennies and pick up the dollars. And it was there that I really learned like how to promote, how to inquire with promotion versus the sales goals versus storytelling. And I think that all of those mixed together makes the best partnerships and makes the best marketing sense in the landscape. On my way out of the indoor football league and the arena football league and what we were doing, I helped put the first woman in the NFL, Dr. Jen Welter. She was the first woman to coach in the NFL. And that really started a whole strike chord. My daughter was born about the same time. I was like, man, like women in sports is something that needs to change and is changing. And it was something that became a passion and like a little bit of a calling for myself. And from there, Jen went on and still is having a great career in football, coaching in the XFL, doing different things, having the Gridiron Girls stuff that goes on for her camps across the country in partnership with Adidas. Like all the things that she's doing is set the stage for. Now there's female referees and now there's female coaches in locker rooms across the NFL and they're doing different things from strength training to not. And then you look in baseball and baseball has their first female managers throughout the minor leagues and they have bench coaches and base coaches that are women. And you didn't see that even just 10 years ago. So I think that those things really are important to where we go. And from there, I helped start and ignite a sports agency for the past 10 years. That's where I've been leading and directing the marketing campaigns and the marketing initiatives for that agency with, talent across Major League Baseball, the NFL, mixed martial arts and UFC, and again, back to women's sports. So a series of Olympians and softball players that were there and negotiated the first contract for a female athlete that paid her $1 million for playing. not for anything else, but for actually playing. Storyboarding with brands, creating those brand partnerships, understanding where those things go and how they identify themselves in the commercials and mainstream media and curating those narratives. All that led to, I've been there for a decade, and I got a phone call one day from a person was inside the industry saying, "You ever thought about cheerleading?" No, not really. And then I started thinking about it, and over a process of a few months and a lot of phone calls and emails and back and forth and a couple of meetings and a couple of interviews, you know what, this place could be a real challenge. This place could be a real thing that we can make a big difference in. It's really blue ocean because it's been systematically controlled for 30 plus years, and you start looking at where it is and where it can be. There's plenty of opportunity. So I think I get excited about looking at what that opportunity is and how to inspire change and how to cause a little bit of disruption in a system that's been stagnant, and come in kicking the door down and asking a lot of questions and finding out a lot of facts and understanding how people operate. And this, like my first month and a half, 60 days on the job with the Open Championship Series was me calling people and having conversations and talking to people and learning and showing up and seeing where things are going on and how they operate. I did a lot of fact finding and note taking and educational surveys for myself to really understand. And I listened to everybody actively to know what we could to know what we could do better and to know where we can stand better. But specifically in the realm of how do we continue to put the athlete first? That's where I come from. I think what excites me the most is that these kids could have so much more than they do today.
Well, and that's one thing that I remember, and was like, it was that long ago, but yeah, you and I had some conversations that went into the length of hours just talking about cheerleading. And it was actually nice for me because it was, and within the industry, we all know and we get saturated with all of the things that we gripe about. And so it was nice to have somebody outside coming inside and wanting to learn. And I'm like, there's this, and then there's that, and this is how this works, and this is how that works. And it was really cathartic for me to be like, how can we fix this from your perspective? So before we get into all of that, I want to know, so you've been in the industry for how long now?
Since October. So you're looking at really November, December, really 5 months is a total.
So let's take your first 90 days. You've done a lot of discovery. You've done a lot of note taking. We'll talk about the sports marketing part and the athlete part, but just on the whole, what were your general first impressions of all-star cheerleading within those first couple of months?
I think inspiring is a big word. It has a lot of meaning and a lot of purpose and a lot of intent behind it. What from 2.5 minutes on a stage from these kids is no different than what an hour on an NFL field. It's no different. It's passion, it's want, it's skill, it's dedication, it's effort. It's all of those things. But the support programs that are behind these kids are super, super engaged for the most part. And I think that engagement leads us to two different thoughts. One is I have to be better than what was before me, and how do I compete with what's against me? And I think the biggest thing that we don't think about, or that those that I've seen that isn't thought about, is what are we doing today to make tomorrow better? This isn't specific to cheerleading. This is something that a lot of big sports go through. But I think it's to a tipping point and to a degree of scale to where there needs to be a new train of thought from within. And that comes from gym owners and coaches and parents to drive the force, just as much as it comes from organizational bodies and event producers and people like yourself that are trend setting in this industry to create that change. Are we to a boiling point yet in the sport? I don't think so. Are we far off? Probably not. Are the little bubbles starting to pop up right before it really happens? I think so.
Do you really think that I'm a trendsetter in the industry, or are you just trying to get more time in the interview?
I am the best person at trying to support you and grow you.
It's true.
And if I have my little palm to wave over here,
It's
I
true.
would.
You started not long ago, a position was created for you. Let's start with what is your job title and what is your job description? What are you here in the industry to do?
Enigma would be probably the best. First and foremost goal here is the integrity and operation of marketing and partnerships for the Open Championship Series and All-Star World Championships. I think that for me, first and foremost, it's the marketing and the partnerships around the biggest events in which we produce. And it's around those events that we can make the athlete experience and the consumer experience and the partner experience that much more better. So we're going to continue to do that. But to be able to say that it is the largest all-star cheer experience that's on the planet is pretty powerful. It's pretty exciting. We're stoked to be able to say that. We're stoked to be able to push that out. We're stoked to have the opportunity to change the way that people view the industry in the perspective of what it is. And we're super excited to bring those people outside of the industry inside to peek behind the curtain.
We're always talking about, why is cheer so expensive? Does it have to be this expensive? How do we make it less expensive? We just had a whole episode talking with Dan from the Cheer Biz podcast about where do the costs of cheer come in. Would it be fair to say, if you want to see cheer become less expensive in the future, support vendors now? Would that be fair to say?
I think that's a very complicated answer, and I don't want to give you just a yeah, sure,
well, I'm just
or
thinking,
no, I don't think
I'm just
so.
thinking that, you know, there are some new brands, and I know, I don't know if you can confirm or deny, but there are some new non-cheer related brands coming into cheerleading, specifically at All-Star World Championship, that are not your traditional cheer companies. And this is a good way for them to get their foot in the door and see what the industry is all about. And I guess the way that I rationalize and the way that I think about it is, if they are successful at these type of events, will they want to do more if they see that cheerleading has more potential for more visibility for their brand and more profitability for their brand? Would it be fair to say, if they were successful, that they would put, instead of thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands, or in the future hundreds of thousands of dollars, that will help to, because I always picture like the world stage presented by XYZ company, where that company is putting in maybe $50,000 to have their logo and have their name attached to that stage, which would save the cheer event company money on the venue costs, which then would potentially be passed on to the consumer in terms of athlete registration fees. Is that a cycle that we can see coming?
Truthfully, that's my hope, right? It has to be a proved investment, and there has to be a true ROI. Me showing up as a business and saying, yep, saw a bunch of cheerleaders today, cool. That's what I do. Make my brand a little bit more seen. Okay, that doesn't put more dollars in the bank account, right? Now, and I think some of this is on the brands too, right? And I've had a lot of conversations about this with a lot of these brands. Like, your presence is everything at these events, right? If you look like a farmer's market, you're probably a farmer's market. Now, I traditionally love a farmer's market and going on Saturday with my family and getting whatever, and that's a good time. But that's not what I'm looking from a consumer product brand within this industry or outside of this industry. I think it's on both sides. And to further that point, yeah, sure, if we had $10,000, $50,000 partners coming in, like, that's significant. But is it also significant in reducing the cost of the sport at the gym level? Probably not.
Right.
Is it significant in reducing the cost of the sport at the uniform purchasing level? Probably not. As if more people are buying through those companies throughout the year, right? Man, I love Nike Pros. And look, I'm not dissing on Nike Pro right now. Nike's great, but what is Nike doing for the cheer industry right now, today?
Anyone? Bueller?
Here's some crickets. So if I'm a cheerleader and I love Nike Pros, why am I investing in somebody that's not investing in me? And I think that is how you systematically change of, man, this sport's really expensive. Cool. And while I'm on the Nike soapbox, right, like we see this time and time again. Nike is Nike, and they are amazing. You can go read Shoe Dog and listen and learn the experiences of that brand. They're fantastic. But you see it a lot of where they pick and choose their ways to insert themselves. Softball, another women's sport that is very close in the ways that it has to operate as cheerleading. When they weren't in the Olympics, between 2012, last time they were there was 2008, before 2020, the 2012 games and the 2016 games, those girls weren't endorsed by Nike. As soon as softball came back in 2020, guess what? Hey, who wants a pair of Nike cleats? Check it out. We'll give you guys some uniforms. Hey. And now that they're not back in the games in Paris this year, we're good. We'll see you guys in 2028 in LA. Let's continue to support that. No, man, change your buying habits. That's on the cheer moms. That's on the athletes. It's on the cheerleading dads. That's on the industry. Change your buying habits.
Yeah, you vote with your dollar for sure. Yeah, that's a really interesting takeaway for us to think about. So speaking of what are brands doing for me, let's talk about the athlete. And you have a passion for the individual athlete to be taken care of and to have opportunities to make this a living. What did you say at the top is you negotiated a deal for a softball player to make $1 million just for playing softball? Is that what I heard? Yeah.
Yeah, Monica Abbott.
So what are I want to talk about opportunities and challenges. So let's start with the opportunities. What are the opportunities for the cheer athlete in terms of getting sponsorship and brand deals?
Well, it goes back to what we just said, is support the brands that you want to support you, right? But also, conversely, the brands that are endemic in this industry and are 100% made for this industry, support your athletes. I think that's a big thing. And now people are going to be like, we have an ambassador program. Yeah, you do. Do you pay your kids, or do you just say, here's some credits to come and buy more stuff of mine? That's a difference. I think that the industry is fundamentally broken in that quote-unquote influencer category. And that's one thing that I'm looking to systematically change with strategy and looking to implement. And you and I have talked about this. I put my money where my mouth is, specifically using you to come and photograph something for us with 2 influencers. Like, I'm not afraid of that. And I will continue to put my money where my mouth is, and the Open Championship Series money where our mouth is as a collective, to continue to improve that. I think that's very needed, is that, okay, if we're going to say something, we're going to do it, and we stand by it. But I also need everybody else to do the same thing. And you're right, I am passionate about this, because I'm going to flip this over a little bit, and I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay. Did NIL and name, image, and likeness in the NCAA affect cheerleading?
No, because we're not an NCAA sport, and so we don't really pay attention to that.
Shouldn't that mean that cheerleaders should have been able to make money collegiately to pay for the things that they need to pay for, like going to competitions, travel, all of those things? Shouldn't that mean that for the past, I don't know, forever, that they should be able to make money?
Absolutely.
So let me ask this. If that's the case, how come they're not?
I want everyone to sit with that.
I think that that's a real question that you have to ask yourself. And the ethos of that question comes from what we talked about just prior, is, man, this sport's really expensive. Really expensive. You expect a kid to go to college and get a couple of bucks at a Division I school to cheer on and be part of a game day Saturday on a field that's got 100,000 people in the stands. And then you want them to come around, and because they're doing different things within their sport, they have to go out and they have to say, oh man, I really want to go compete. I got to raise $5,000, but I had to pay for my books, and I got to pay for school, and oh man, I got to pay for all the other things that life carries with me, like rent and all that other things and food. But I still got to come up with this other money because of what I do. And my school doesn't help me. They don't help me at all. Who helps me? I don't know. Nobody really, but the cheerleading world's, give me more money.
So
Dude,
there's a few
what are we
things there.
doing?
So ultimately, my daughter, she did 1 year of college cheerleading. And ultimately, there were a lot of factors that went into this, but had to stop because I have to work. I have to have at least a part time job to support myself. And cheer doesn't allow me
Yeah.
to work. I love cheer, but I can't have a regular job because of all the cheer obligations. So are you saying, and the school, like you said, the schools are not giving, for the most part, the schools across the country are not giving cheer scholarships. If the cheer department has any money for things like that, they're giving it to the boys. And so there's just not opportunity. And would you say that the athlete can achieve that on an individual basis then?
Yeah, I think so. I think with the following, the engagement, and I think that we can get down a whole nother rabbit hole on this, which we can. But I think that the following and the engagement of where we are today socially between the variety of platforms in which you choose to want to monetize you with a niche ecosystem in which you can sell and relate and be a quality brand ambassador for. But that doesn't mean that you're a brand ambassador. It shouldn't mean that you're doing it for free. It shouldn't mean that you're taking bad brand deals and taking bad deals that don't compensate you what you're worth. That doesn't mean that you should always just post fun little cheerleading pictures. No, build your brand. Do the things that you need to do to be successful. If people aren't engaging, comment and create engagement. If people aren't liking what you're doing, double down. Keep it going. Don't abandon it. Be consistent. Show up every day. Grind. Do the things that you need to do. But also reach out. Develop those relationships. Have your elevator pitch down. You never know when you're going to be walking around a contest and somebody there. Look, cheerleading's expensive. You think the moms and dads that are parents of these people don't want to invest in the sport that their kid's in? That maybe they're sitting in C-suites of whatever company that might want to do something with you because their little boy or little girl looks up to you? If you're an athlete, change the way that you act, change the way that you prescribe. It's not poor me, I need to make money. It's I have the ability to make money, and I've always had the ability to make money in the sport. Let's do that today. No more of the woe is me
Absolutely. And
stuff.
and I'll say that as a business owner in the cheer industry and as someone who is developing an ambassador community and wanting to give back to my ambassadors first and foremost, but I am most impressed by the high school sophomore who has the initiative to I had one that found my email address that I didn't have at the time. I didn't have a public ambassador anything. There was no place to sign up. There was really not a lot of evidence that I even had ambassadors for the cheer collection. And this high school sophomore found my email address, emailed me, and said, I love your product. I would love to represent your brand. I would love to learn about business. I would love to be involved. And has almost zero social media following, by the way, almost zero. And social media is important, but I was so impressed by her initiative and by saying, hey, I want to be partnered with you. Those are the kind of athletes that I'm looking for, that when I'm big enough to pay, those are the kind of people. So absolutely, athletes, especially high
Yeah,
school athletes, it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel vulnerable, but reach out to brands and say, hey, I think I can bring my whole cheer team on board with your product. Can we talk? And I'm just going to put it out there. I won't volunteer you, Matt, but if you want my help on what to say, reach out, send me an email. I would love to help you with crafting that message and what to
absolutely.
say. Okay, Matt says same. We're going to put Matt's information or a form to contact him. If you're curious, now is the time to get in on that. And I also want to say that yes, social media following is a very impactful way to reach people. And first, brands are
Mm-hmm.
looking at that. Let's just be real. But I do want to
Well,
say
but what do brands really
I'm looking at
look at?
engagement. So if you have 50,
Ah, so not
right,
just
if you have
followers.
50,000 followers and you're not getting any comments and 10 likes on the majority of your posts. First of all, I think that you bought followers and that you don't have 50,000 followers. But I'm looking at engagement. So if you have 1,000 followers and
Yeah.
you're getting comments, and likes are less important, but you're getting comments and your followers are engaging with you, that's more important to me than the number of followers that you have. But I also want to say, I think that there are some assumptions, and this is all over the place, but I think there are some assumptions about most of the cheer celebrities that we see that have hundreds of thousands of followers, that we think they have it made and that they're making all of this money off of their social media following and who they are. Let me tell you a secret. They are not. They are not.
No, they don't know
Because
how
they
to
don't know how,
monetize
and
it.
they
And that's
don't
my
know
point.
the strategy. And that's something that Matt and I have talked a lot about, is how can we help them? Matt, what is the strategy? Where do they start?
I think there's a couple of different answers to this. And one is your visibility and your reach matter, right? But your content and your consistency also matter. No offense, cheerleaders. People outside of the cheerleading world don't care about what kind of skill level you have. They don't. Is it neat? Sure. But I hear a lot of people, and Kristen, I know you hear a lot of people complain about the same system too. If I don't post this, I don't get
I only get the most likes and comments when I'm posting myself in a cheer uniform or doing some kind of skill.
Yeah, it's because you don't do the other things consistently enough, right? And it's also because you've siloed yourself, which is great if you're only going to work with cheer brands. But as we discussed earlier, are they really stepping up to the game to support you the way that you should support them? Yes or no? And I think some are, and I think some others aren't, right? I think that some can, and some are like Kristen and her company, where they're just getting going in this industry and they can't afford to put 4 or 5 influencers on payroll. And that's not a shot at anybody. That's just the facts. Who can afford to put you guys on as an ambassador, as an influencer, on a 6-month contract, a 12-month contract, or an 18 or 24-month agreement? CPG brands, consumer packaged foods brands. Those are your health and beauty brands. Those are the things that you go to Target and Walmart and that you're buying off the shelf, that like all the things that you have on subscription that just show up on your door. Those brands. And who's going to buy the authenticity of those brands? The fact that you can showcase that you're using them to where you're like, oh man, I ran out. Holy crap, I got to go get something new. Like, those are the people. I think apparel brands outside of the industry itself, like, they do showcase a little bit of an initiative in some cases to really want to be part of this sport and what they're doing. But again, don't hold yourself accountable to just those. Hold yourself accountable to the things that you use in your daily life. I think that those things are important. And I think that, look, nobody wants another meal in the box discount code, right?
I'm
Nobody
sorry,
wants
but
those. That's fine. But you know what they want? Where are you going to get your smoothie
not
today?
even just that, Matt.
You know,
I have reached out to, I'm starting to form relationships with some of these absolutely wonderful cheer influencers. And I'm 41, and I have reached out to more than one cheer influencer to ask them about what makeup they're using. And I'm like, hey, can you do a get ready with me? Because the way that your eyebrows are shaped, like, I want that. 19-year-olds, tell me. And so I'm being, as a 41-year-old mother, I'm being influenced by a 17-year-old cheerleader, and that's okay. That's the potential.
Yeah.
That's the potential that you cheer athletes have.
So I think what people miss a lot, and where I've conveyed with companies that I've had relationships with that I've brought into this space and I'm bringing into this space, and I'm still having conversations to try to get them into this space, like something that no one puts together on a map, is these 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old girls, they're going to be heads of households soon. It's just a fact. They're going to be decision makers in their households within the next 10 to 15 years of their life. Brand affinity matters. These brands want to be with you because they know that if they impress upon you, that you will like them. And then if you like them, then you will stick with them and you will make the conscious decisions to continue purchasing from them, which is why we do that cool little thing of, oh man, yeah, Amazon, just click to subscribe. Great. You know, it's going to show up because you like the product, you can count on the product, and you're going to go through it, so you're going to use it again, right? Like, those health and beauty brands, those are so important to like our daily lifestyle, not just our cheerleading lifestyle. That's everything from the hairspray or whatever hair product you're using, your shampoo, your body wash, your deodorant, like the list goes on. But like all of those things matter. And all of those things are looking for ways, all of those businesses that have those things and those products are looking for ways to influence the next phase of buyer. I made the blue hair comment earlier. Well, that's great. What happens? It's a symphony effect, right? What happens when those blue hairs phase out? What happens when moms become grandmas and daughters become mothers? Like, where does the buying trend shift? So if they can keep people in their cycle, then they continue the real work of
Right.
what
If
their
you think
business
about it,
is.
how many of us just even subconsciously will buy Tide laundry detergent because that's the laundry detergent that our mom used? If you really think about it,
That's
I
right.
mean, I don't think that I've ever made the conscious decision, this is what my mom uses, so I'm going to use it. But you actually awakened me to this, that there are a lot of name brands and products that we use just simply because we grew up with them.
It's inherent knowledge, right? It's comfort, it's recognition, it's like that autopilot term, right? It's just like, yep, that's what I use. It's no different than picking out like your favorite soda, right? Like you have your favorite soda probably because that's what may have been in your refrigerator when you were younger, or that's what you used as like a special treat or got as a special treat when you were a kid going to eat dinner with the grown-ups or whatever. Like those all of those things, like they come into play, and it's something that honestly we lose sight of. But those brands are in the same mindset that we are, is like, what's next, right? How do we keep this next cycle of people coming? It's no different than us in the cheer world making sure that the littler kids are having somebody big enough to look up to and keep them involved, right? It's all cyclical. We're all in that habitual moment of, yep, autopilot, grabbing this, grabbing that. It is what it is, right? Play into it. Lean into it if
Yeah,
you're going to
and
be an
these
influencer.
high school, college, and beyond athletes, what I'm hearing from this is you all hold more leverage and more power than you think, or than maybe the cheer industry has let you believe. It's okay to ask for more. It's okay to ask to be paid. It's okay to negotiate. It's okay to turn down opportunities for free product in exchange for a post.
Yes.
I personally,
It's
I
okay
have
to
fewer
say no.
followers than a lot of cheer influencers, but I almost never accept an offer where they want to just send me something for free so that I do an unboxing on my social media, because I don't want to just be constantly trying to sell my followers things, but also I'm worth more than that and my time is worth more than that. So I am excited about these opportunities, and I'm really hoping for the day when cheer athletes have people in their corners like agents and people like Matt who can connect them with these brands and then help them know what to ask for. So before we wrap up, I want to address a very large audience of cheer influencers, especially on social media. The influencer group in cheer, I've noticed, tends to skew much younger. So we're seeing a lot
Mm-hmm.
of ambassadors, and their moms are running their accounts. And I love those moms, and they're in community with each other, and they're keeping their athletes safe online in some very great and unique ways. Nonetheless, they are trying to build a brand for their 9 to 12, 13 year olds. And in hopes that I think that eventually when they are in high school and college, that they're positioned to have some of these opportunities that we've just talked about. So what advice would you give to that community of people who are much younger, who are just getting started, who brands might not partner with for paid opportunities just yet?
Don't chase the dollar. Enjoy the moment. Don't curate a feed today for something that you think is going to happen or that you hope to happen or that you want to happen. in 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years. Like, it won't matter. The way of social media changes daily, right? And the way that we consume things continues to change daily. What I would suggest is live in that moment and enjoy it. Document the journey for yourself and for your child. Don't try to speak something into existence or will it into existence because it's not time yet. It's okay. It's no different than what we see in like baseball or football or basketball or softball. And it's like you start seeing these 6th, 7th, and 8th graders like trying to chase offers. Dude, it doesn't matter. You can get hurt tomorrow and that offer doesn't exist. Why? I think at the end of the day, you can start making those conscious decisions just like a freshman and sophomore in high school and start looking more detailed there. But I do think that it's all about living and not missing the cool moments for you now. It's cool to be involved. I get it. It's cool to be in the social scene and be like, oh, we're ambassadors for XYZ. Great. What are you really getting out of it besides telling your social circle that's what you are? I think that you're missing the cool part of the journey of just enjoying the experience. But by all means, keep building that profile, keep building the portfolio. Those things are important. I just don't think that they're as emphatically important as sometimes we want them to be, because this industry changes so quickly. This industry, meaning the social media platforms, they just change. They change quickly, and what we see today is not what you're gonna see tomorrow. If you're trying to be the Michael Jordan of the industry and trying to follow those footsteps of Michael Jordan, good luck. You're going to come up short. LeBron doesn't chase what Jordan's doing. Kobe didn't chase what Jordan was doing. Mm-hmm. They did their own things. And there's only going to be one Michael Jordan. But LeBron's a really great guy, right? He's a really great person at what he's doing. He's worth $1 billion from his off-court investments and the business deals that he's made with his agent Rich Paul and what he's done at Clutch. Like, he owns an agency where MJ owns a team. A team's going to create X and have net worth value, but LeBron's going to have liquid value based off of player contracts that the agency in which he owns is doing and negotiating. There's also the brand deals that come with that and what they're doing with off the court things. I think you have to run your own race. If I'm one of these parents, run your own race. Do the things that you guys want to do and enjoy those moments. Don't try to aspire to be the next whoever, because you'll always come up.
I would add to that
every time.
Keep posting. I think a lot of these younger ambassadors they're in it to have fun. They love doing photo shoots. They love meeting other cheer athletes from around the country. And I think that's a really cool part of it, is that they're making friends. Somebody in California is making friends with somebody from New Jersey, and they're like cheer sisters, and they support each other when they're at the same competitions, and they have this sort of outlet outside of their gym or their team. And I love that. The moms are building some community. I love that too. Keep posting. Take what you've heard from Matt and me today, try to implement it into your strategy that you're doing for your daughter, because I think what a gift it would be to, when they enter high school and they're thinking about what they want to do in their future, what a gift it is to be able to hand them their social media accounts and say, look, you have a launching point. They're not starting at 0. They're starting at, some of them 10, 20, 30,000 followers that are engaged if you're doing it right. And what a gift that is to, in this day and age, to be able to give your child a platform when they're ready for it and to take that and run with it. I think that's a way that cheer moms, we can give our daughters opportunity moving forward, is if you choose to be an ambassador, have your daughter be an ambassador and have a social presence, is to do it with, like Matt said, do it with the intention of documenting, of memory building, of community building. And if your daughter wants to be able to take that where they want to go when they're ready and have those opportunities come to them.
Yeah, monetize it later. Yeah. Don't worry about it today. And I think the coolest thing there is the community building, right? You heard us talk today about, man, if I post this, I don't get the engagement that I want. You know what? Moms, kids,
Yes.
Go like those. Go support. Go like those
Yes.
things. Engage on those comments. Build each other up. Drive conversation around them. That's going to help you as a community in sport.
Yep.
More than anything in the world is building that sense of community, that village, that camaraderie. Just like you would go cheer somebody on right before they're going to go compete, or right after they compete, or during their actual competition.
Yep.
Do the same thing. If you can walk the walk, talk the talk.
In fact, that's a requirement
Be that
of being
person.
an ambassador for the cheer collection. And we don't like to call it an ambassador program. We like to call it an ambassador community. And one of the requirements is to engage with other ambassadors and build friendships and encourage each other.
That's right. That's right. I think the ethos and all of our partner packets this year that went out, like, it was all about building that community. It's building that baseline and getting better on top of that. So that's it. That's really the ethos for me. And that's where it comes day in and day out for our partnerships, and what we generate as a partnership is, can you help advance what we're doing as a collective whole for the sport to be better tomorrow?
Matt, I'm so excited for the future of cheer. I'm excited for the new ideas that you're bringing and the conversations and partnerships that just in a few short months you've brought to the industry. And if people want to connect with you, how can they find you?
I'm not huge on social myself, just because, man, is it really that important for me to show you what deal point I did today? No, that's not who I am. That's cool if you want to go reach out and search the interwebs and find me socially, do that. But send me an email. I think that's the best way for me. It's Mathew, Mathew, only one T, at openchampionshipseries.com. I think that's the easiest and most accessible way. I'm not bashful. I'm happy to jump on the phone. I'm happy to have a conversation. Like, those are the things. But, like, I don't know. If you want to reach out to me, Kristen knows where to find me. She can point me in the right direction, or send me an email.
Thank you so much. I'm Team Matt.